This video contains spoilers for Elden Ring and Sekiro.
When it comes to Souls games, usually the first thing you think of is a challenging combat and unique boss fights. And for the longest time, I viewed the Souls series from only that perspective. And when I say Souls game, I'm including Sekiro and Elden Ring. If I didn't like the bosses in that game, then I wouldn't like the game at all, which is why I wasn't the biggest fan of Sekiro. The game has 13 bosses, 2 of which are gimmick fights. Genichiro, who you fight 3 times, an owl, monk, and ape, who you all fight on 2 separate occasions. And yes, I know the fights are different, and they're more difficult the second time, but it wasn't different enough to feel like a unique fight. This really turned me off from the game, but that ended up changing after I played Elden Ring. Elden Ring was a step into Uncharted territory by FromSoftware, as they made an open-world game for the first time in the series' history. Now technically, you could consider the other games open world, but the freedom of exploration isn't the same as it is with Elden Ring, with maybe only Dark Souls 1 being the closest. While you can roam the world freely in the other Souls games, it's more linear and ordered as opposed to Elden Ring. Or the fact that there are multiple entrances to late game areas like Altus Plateau, which you can enter from the Lift of Dectus, or through Volcano Manor, or even through a hidden dungeon at the end of Liurnia. When I first played it, I was completely blown away by the vast world it put you in, the overwhelming amount of bosses and dungeons to fight and explore, and the sheer length of the game. That was until I realized a majority of the boss fights were cheap copy and pastes, with even some of the main bosses being reused, and the same applied for the dungeons, which were all pretty similar to each other, with the exception of some. Initially, I was pretty disappointed, since my main attraction to these games has always been the bosses you fight, and I loathe repetitive sections and bosses, since they're mundane and lazy. Like coming across a stranded windmill village filled with singing and dancing villagers, which is unsettling, and then meeting and fighting the Godskin Apostle. The boss on its own is a great fight, with beautiful music surrounded by giant windmills. But that moment was stolen from me once I realized how many of the Godskin Apostles are in the game. It was no longer unique. But then it dawned on me that maybe I've been viewing these games from just one aspect and ignoring the others. These games have way more to offer than just boss fights and skill checks. They're filled with incredible world design and level structure, and I should appreciate those the same way I appreciate great boss fights. Like taking your first steps into Limgrave, for example, where you're first introduced to the world of Elden Ring. I'd say this is one of the key moments in the game that really shows you how big this world is, how there's so much to take in. From the gigantic Erdtree that you can see from nearly every area in the game, which is an impressive feat, to the tall and ominous divine towers in each region. Even the imposing castle of Stormvale. You instantly want to traverse through Limgrave and see what the structures and locations have in store, because how can you resist? The details in this world are beautiful, and they range from major ones, like your introduction to Liurnia of the Lakes, with the Academy of Raya Lucaria rising from the dead center of its misty waters, or what comes afterwards with Mount Gelmir and the Grand Lift of Dectus further in the distance, to small details like the random debris you find throughout the world, and how you can later learn that it's actually walls and foundations that fell from Fair Missoula, an old royal city that housed ancient dragons turned to the crumbling Sky Temple. The more I played the game, the more I was learning about its world, history, and its incredible design, which is what truly made me love and enjoy Elden Ring. It wasn't the flashy boss fights or the challenging combat. It was the world and level design and the stories it told. Now don't get me wrong, seeing upcoming sections at a distance isn't exactly a new feature to the Souls games. Seeing the Great Hollow from Firelink Shrine that you'll be descending through later in the game, or this view from Dark Souls 3 where you can pinpoint most of the upcoming areas you'll be encountering. But the level it was raised to in Elden Ring cannot be appreciated enough. The effect of the passage of time in the game, like the fleeting burning embers in the air after you burn the Tree. Or revisiting the capital of Leyndell after it's been buried by ash, remind you of the consequences of your actions. And again, while this has been done in the other Souls games, it was never at this level. Descending the elevator to Siofra River and seeing the underground world for the first time is one of the most iconic moments in the Souls series. After hours of running on horseback and fighting enemies, you find that there's an entire underground you haven't visited yet. Having music unique to each area was also a fantastic addition. While the lack of music can add to the atmosphere in the abandoned hollow world of Dark Souls, the music is more fitting for the world of Elden Ring, a world of vibrant colors and breathtaking landmarks. Even something as simple as the color of the sky changing for each region you're in. The dull gold of the Altus Plateau, the blood red of Caelid, or the melancholy green of Limgrave. All of these details, whether small or big, work together to form the magnitude and beauty of the world of Elden Ring. After my experience with Elden Ring, I decided to revisit Sekiro and give it another chance to see if I misjudged it, and it turned out I had. Set in the beautiful snowy land of Ashina, you're brought into this world as the shinobi Sekiro. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not the biggest fan of the game's bosses, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to discuss the impeccable world design of this game, which is a standard met by nearly all of the Souls games. For the beginning of the game, you're surrounded by the pleasing sight of traditional Japanese architecture covered in snow. From the massive castle of the Ashina clan to the chaotic burning Hirata estate that's oddly beautiful in its own way. While I enjoy those areas, I would say nothing beats the experience of when you first enter Senpou Temple. You're finally relieved of the bleak and grim snow and greeted by a vibrant, mountainous area that's full of colorful trees. Unfortunately, in Sekiro, you can't really see any of the upcoming areas in the distance like the other Souls games, but that's mainly because of how the world is built, with Hirata Estate being from the past and Fountainhead being at a separate location that you teleport to. You can still see Senpou Temple from Ashina at least. Being able to revisit early game areas after acquiring the swimming ability is a great trait, as it allows you to explore the underwater beautiful scenery that you didn't know existed earlier on. Whether you're finding hidden bosses, secret items, or just enjoying the beautiful submerged environment. Like Elden Ring, once I got past that fixation on boss fights, I started to appreciate how beautiful this game truly is. Chasing monkeys on the rooftops of a foggy temple, the watery palace of the Fountainhead, where you're chased by nobles who want to drain your life force and turn you into a frail old man. Or the dark, hidden village of Mibu, where you encounter Lady Rin, who serenades you with her beautiful instrument, and then kills you. The arenas where you battle these bosses have their own unique attributes. Levitating on clouds while fighting a divine dragon, launching lightning strikes, and then finally flung into the high sky to deliver the finishing blow. Or a Buddha statue overlooking a burning arena as you fight your old mentor and teacher, Lady Butterfly. Or looking down at Ashina while fighting the leader of their clan with the weather even changing for his final phase. And let's not forget, one of the greatest boss fights in the series, the legendary warrior of Ashina, Ishin the Sword Saint, resurrected for one last battle. A final test versus sword, spear, and even bullets. All while the remains of Ashina Castle, the area where you first began your journey, burned to ash, ending its long-standing legacy. FromSoftware truly stepped up its world design with Elden Ring. Whether it was them refining something they've done before, or adding new, rich ways to showcase their worlds, I think we should all admire that whenever we play their games, and instead, enjoy them for all they have to offer, instead of tunnel visioning on specific factors. Whether you're a shinobi trailing rooftops, a tarnished exploring an academy of sorcerers, or even a chosen undead exploring a forsaken capital past its glory days. The Soul series has so much to offer besides its challenging combat and boss fights. Realizing that made me love and enjoy these games even more. And that's how Elden Ring made me appreciate Sekiro. I'm Zero, and thank you for watching.